Good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to be here in Australia, and it's particularly wonderful to be here in Warrnambool today with you. I originally came from Melbourne, but these days I live in Italy, in the hills of Tuscany, with my partner, Michael Cartwright, who is also an artist, and my two grown-up boys, who are also artists in their own areas. It's beautiful coming back to Australia and feeling this great earth under our feet again. On one of our visits back to Australia recently, I was given this fantastic opportunity by a lovely and very generous philanthropist, Professor Barbara Van Ernst, and the Warrnambool Gallery to create two large sculptures from a series of work I absolutely love. They are my guardians, male and female. These guardians have a little story that I'd like to share with you. The guardians have been part of my emerging language as an artist since the time my childish world was happily turned upside down at the age of 10. I was brought up in a slightly unusual family, as my father, Shona Nunan, is an artist and was totally supported in all his dreaming by my mother. One year, he packed all 6 of us up in an old Land Rover and trailer and took us up into the desert, where we finally settled in an old World War II concrete army blockhouse across the bay from Darwin, near an Aboriginal settlement. This period of time brought us in contact with the art of the local people, their corroborees, their connection to the earth, and their own earthy characters. Their art seems spiritual, with the figures of animals and people drawn in the caves and on bark feeling almost ethereal, as though the real message is their essence. I was aware even then of how extraordinary it was to be here in Australia amongst a people from an Aboriginal culture, over 60,000 years old. Not much had changed till we got here 200 years ago, so it was still possible to touch that ancient history through the people themselves. From my perspective as a young girl, this was at odds with the strong physicality and realism of the normal life I had come from down south, and far from the figurative works of Rodin and Michelangelo, artists who would become important to me as a growing teenager. Some years later, when I was 20, I did a trip with my father into the outback to draw and paint, and with a mission to find some caves near Arnhem Land that he had been to another year. We didn't find the caves he was searching for, but we did come across another cave with a gigantic boulder at the entrance. Painted on the boulder were 2 big figures with their arms and hands outstretched warningly, their eyes huge and dark. To me, they felt like guardians. It felt as though we were entering a sacred area, and these figures were warding away bad spirits. So with a feeling of great awe and careful respect, we went into the cave and saw the artist's space, an elevated rock, its surface well worn from the centuries, perhaps millennia, of artists lying in this space, the divots where he crushed his stone and the bits of twigs for paintings. All around the cave on the rock walls were beautiful X-ray drawings of animals and figures hunting. The space felt very peaceful, and we left with a feeling of having experienced a profound spiritual connection. I can't tell you of the impression this made in my life. I return to it again and again in my work. I feel the presence of these guardians always. The guardians emerged in my work at first as night and day, and then they became little fecund women figures on hilltops and single figures in the landscape, ethereal figures connecting to the spirit of the land. In other ancient cultures, I have found guardians too: the Etruscans, the Cycladic Greeks, the Egyptians, the Africans, the pre-Columbians. The guardians are amongst the great archetypes of civilization, and deep down, even today, and without hocus pocus, we know we have to protect the things that are sacred to us, our inner selves, our children, our homes. The guardians at an entrance are saying, "Come in, but be respectful." For me, these guardians symbolically represent the balance of life. They are yin and yang, male and female, conscious and unconscious, night and day. I'm very grateful to have the smoking ceremony today at the entrance to this gallery, where the guardians stand with Elder Mr. Robert Lowe. It feels significant to me to have an Aboriginal elder here whose cultural heritage has influenced my own, and in particular these guardians. I am the luckiest person alive to have a patron like Professor Barbara Van Oaths, who has been collecting my work for the past 20 years and has recently also bought my work for Hamilton Regional Gallery and along with the Warrnambool Gallery, commissioned me to create the Guardians for Your Civic Green. It is truly a great synergy when artist, patron and gallery can work together to make culture grow. Thank you so much, Barbara. And thank you, John Cunningham, for your visionary belief in Warrnambool, and thank you for accepting my art as part of its manifestation and for your generous welcome to the gallery. Thank you, everybody.
Just one more there.